Hello guys, and welcome to mattsbeamer. Today's video is probably the hardest video I've had to film, but it was worth it in the end. It's basically a DIY video on how to change the starter on a 2005 E90 325i fitted with the N52 engine. First of all, this is my own way of doing this repair, and there are many other ways to do this job. So I recommend that you also check a few other videos on the internet before committing to this task. If you decide to follow my steps, I hold no responsibility if any damage is caused to you or your vehicle. If you don't have the confidence, take it to your local car garage to see if they can do it for you. I just want to save you some money. Also, some cars may vary from year to year with little things. I would also recommend that you search for your own nut and bolts torque settings, just in case there are any misunderstandings with this video. And I have also made an in-depth video for this car too, which I will include in the description box down below. The other week, this car was driving around as normal. My friend jumped out to do her shopping. When she returned back to the car would not start. The battery was good, I could hear the fuel pump activating, all the fuses and leaves were okay. Some people hit the starter motor while turning the car over. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get the car to start in this way. But every time that starter motor clicked, I felt a vibration. My little diagnostics machine also confirmed my suspicions after doing a few other tests. For this test, I had to order a new starter motor, a new set of aluminium starter motor bolts. Do not use the old ones as they will snap, and if these bolts do snap, then you will find yourself in a big pile of brown stuff. Also, it is recommended to change the rubber gaskets in the manifold. I will leave you all the BMW part numbers in the description box down below, but check these part numbers against your car's chassis VIN number. The website Real OEM is great for this. I shall leave a link for that too down below. Here is what I use to do the job. First of all, unlock the car and check to see if your car has visible key slots. These should be on the boot lid and on the driver's door handle. Hopefully your back seats will fold down too. If you have all of these, check to see if they work. If they do, consider yourself lucky. If you have no visible key slots, then do not close the boot lid. Stick some material where the latch is to prevent it closing. Next, we need to disconnect that battery. The battery on this car is in the boot on the right hand side. Undo the battery cover's fastener by turning it left 90 degrees. Then you will be able to move this cover out the way to expose the battery. Now, loosen the 10mm nut to undo the negative battery clamp. It's brown on this car, and it should be marked as a minus sign. Move the cable out of the way. Next, open the bonnet. We now need to move the cabin air filter. There are 6 8mm bolts that you will need to undo. When you have undone them, gently pull the cover out of the way and put it somewhere safe. Next, pull the rubber tabs backwards and undo the clips on the covers shown. Do it on both sides of the car. Next, disconnect the ambient air sensor by rotating it and pulling it out of the bracket. Also, undo the clips that hold the wire in place. Put this sensor to the side. On the other side of the cowling is the bonnet light switch. Disconnect that as shown and move it out of the way along with the wire. Right, on each side of the cowling is an 8mm bolt. Undo these. The next step is to remove this wiring loom. You do this by pressing down and pulling back the unit. It is held on by 3 tabs. Behind this loom is some more wiring. You will need to pull that out too. Just rest it on the car's engine cover. Double check that everything has been disconnected from the cowling, then pull it out. It's quite a big part. This is what the area looks like once the cover has been removed. Now, remove that engine cover. I used T40 Torx sockets for this job. I think it depends on what your engine cover is. There should be 5 bolts holding it in place, though on this one it has a few missing. Now, you can gently pull the cover out of the way. This is what your N52 engine looks like naked. Now, disconnect the oil pressure switch by pressing in the metal spring clip. It may need a wiggle to get it loose. Then, put it to the side somewhere safe. Now, over to the manifold. You will now see 3 11mm nuts and 4 11mm bolts, which hold the manifold in place. You will need to undo all of these, keep them in the correct order. Where those 3 nuts were are 3 studs. It makes it easier to remove the manifold by removing these studs. You will need to use the E6 female Torx socket for this. Make sure you put the correct studs with the correct nuts. Now, the power steering reservoir. It will keep getting in the way, so undo these 2 10mm nuts and push the power steering reservoir to the side. Next, over to the air box. Remove the 2 10mm nuts. Now down here, we need to loosen the hose clamp with the flathead screwdriver. This hose is from the air box to the throttle body. Now, grab the T15 Torx bit and remove the 2 bolts which connect the snorkel to the front panel. The snorkel will disconnect from the air box, so now you will be able to remove the air box. But first, remove the mass airflow sensor. You will need to lift this little tab up here to help pull it off. When removing the air box, you will need to wriggle it a lot to help disconnect the big hose, which you loosened the hose clamp for earlier. This is what the area looks like with it all out of the way. Hopefully yours will be a lot cleaner than this car's one. Now, pull the manifold out of the way as much as possible. Don't put any stress on any other wires or hoses, etc. This is where the starter motor is hiding. First, disconnect the plug going to the starter motor, as shown. Sorry, it's a bit awkward with this camera in my other hand. We need to disconnect the main power lead going to the starter. It's the top one, and it's a 13mm nut. Here it is on the new starter. For the lower E14 bolt, you will need to use an E14 socket and a long extension to connect your ratchet to help you undo it. It's the shorter bolt out of the 2. The other E14 bolt comes in from the other side, from behind. And to be honest, it's a pain in the ass to get to. You will need to access this bolt by squeezing your arm down into this gap here. Make sure you use new bolts here. You really do not want these to snap at all. Refitting the starter is the opposite to removal, though in theory you should torque up everything. Remember to reconnect the plug and the main power wire. Now, I was lucky here. You need to replace the manifold gaskets as shown. You may need to use a small flathead screwdriver to help remove them, or a little hook. Replace by pressing them back into the slots. Next, get the left-hand manifold bolt. Line up the manifold into the holes and insert the screw. Do it up, but not tight. This is just to help you line up the other holes. Next, put in the 3 studs with the E6 socket. When the studs are back in, refit the bolts and nuts with the 11mm socket, but don't tighten it up just yet. You will need to tighten them up in a certain order. Then you will need to put it all back together. Each area is the same as removal. Reconnect the oil pressure switch, put the airbox back in, connect the hose back onto the throttle body and tighten it up. After the airbox is settled in place, you will need some muscle to push that hose back on. Reconnect the mass airflow sensor, then reconnect the air snorkel, do up the two 10mm nuts holding on the airbox, put the power steering reservoir back into place, bolt it down and make sure you don't forget the washers. Bolt on the engine cover, bolt the cowling back into place, reconnect the bonnet light switch and the ambient sensor. Then reconnect the two covers with the rubber tabs. Bolt back down the cabin air filter. When that's all done, reconnect the battery, make sure the engine bay is clear of all your tools, etc. Cross your fingers and hope she starts.
Job done.
I hope this video was of some use to you. There will be some more DIY videos coming to my channel soon, along with in-depth tours and quick videos based on other random cars. Please like, share and subscribe, and take care. Goodbye.